Bibliosophie.
On Goodreads and social truths addressed in that relative.
How many can you eat?
2. Discovery of the day. This plant makes flowers, which I did not know.
Dudes are like, what the fuck did you put in front of me?
Hi, hello. While my pasta water is coming to a boil, I'm gonna taste these guys. They are gummy bears with chili lime seasoning, and they seem really, really weird. If you know anything about me, you might know that I'm a big gummy candy fan, and yeah, I'm deeply intrigued. Let's try a yellow one. Savory, good. What does it taste like? This reminds me of, what does this remind me of? Sort of a weird aftertaste in the chili. Damn it. There's a flavor that this reminds me of that I can't quite wrap my head around. This one's covered. I like the green, but also weird. I can imagine eating so many of these and getting really sick to my stomach. They are very appealing. They're making my mouth water. Red. No hugely discernible difference between the colors. I don't know if they're meant to even have any discernible difference in flavor. No, I think they are. Who can say? Yeah, the yellow does taste different, and I still can't figure out what it tastes like. Anyway, a success. I started the long form this morning. I am enjoying it, which is no surprise to me because I like Kate Briggs already, and I love a book that is about writing, which is partially what this book is about. I am finding myself a little overwhelmed by it, and I think it's actually because it has so many elements that are of interest to me. It's sort of like a small child opening up presents, too many presents all at once, and getting overexcited. So because this is a novel that is playing with language and with the concept of storytelling and with the form of novelistic storytelling and language and words, etc., even geometric shapes and people in space, all of these things that are really, really interesting to me, I think I'm a little bit overwhelmed in the first 60 or so pages, 62 pages. So we'll see how it develops. I think I'm gonna go read outside right now because it is a gorgeous day. It's not that warm, but it is lovely, and I feel like I should take the opportunity to psychologically photosynthesize. Welcome to another installment of Sophie Attempts to Get Things Done and tells you about the details of them in an attempt to do them. What are the big projects this week? Well, some tax stuff. I know, brilliant, exhilarating, festive, super looking forward to that. I want to assemble all my various tax documents in the next 2 days. I'm not looking forward to that. I also want to start studying for my comprehensive exams. This is my last exam of my doctoral process before the dissertation. I have one last set of exams written and oral, and I am scheduled to do those, I think, April 5th, beginning of April. So I want to start studying For that, ideally it won't take too much studying actually. It should sort of be stuff that I have been learning and accumulating in my head for a while, but I do want to review. I also, kind of as part of that, need to get my dissertation, my official dissertation proposal made and then argued and proposed. So that will be at some point in April as well, mid-April, later April, and I need to write that document. So those are the big academic projects on the horizon. But I also need to learn some music because I just picked up something for the weekend. So I'm actually a little bit busier singing-wise than I intended to be this week, but I can't really complain.
You have von Heidegger in your book that...
Today is one of those days where I feel too overwhelmed and uninspired to wear anything particularly interesting, so I'm just wearing one of my many white shirts. It's fine, but I do feel quite boring. Sometimes you just have to be boring. I'm gonna go take a walk, and I'm currently listening to the audiobook of Lauren Elkin's Flâneuse. I read Art Monsters, as you may know if you are watching this channel regularly, a couple of months ago, a month ago, I guess I should say. And Flâneuse is her previous book. It is about the act of flâner, of walking around, of think walking, which is an activity I do quite a lot, and the kind of social and gender connotations of that action. It is usually a masculine noun, flâneur, but she entitled her book Flâneuse, and it is about women walking around cities. Appropriately enough, I started it yesterday while walking around my city. Then I had to stop because my AirPods died, which was fine because then I also just walked around without listening to anything, and that is a good exercise for me. Other recent audiobook that I consumed very quickly was Sloane Crosley's Grief is for People. I started that on Sunday afternoon and I finished it yesterday morning. I enjoyed this book a lot. It was sad, not shockingly. This is her exploration of, there is a little fly who is flying about. I have a pet, I have a friend. This is her exploration of her grief, of the loss of her friend to suicide, and also of her apartment being broken into and some jewelry stolen, and these sorts of different states of loss and how they become imbricated and how we have a difficult time kind of processing different things as different things, memory. And then it goes into much more of a story about book publishing, really. I was not necessarily expecting it to go in that direction, although I didn't mind, but it kind of evolves from a book about her grief to a book about, I would say, grievance, and how those two also kind of get imbricated. Yeah, a really solid read. I liked the audiobook. It's been making the rounds. It came out quite recently. I don't know if it came out at the end of 2023 or if it came out beginning of 2024, but I'm seeing a lot of people reading it or who have read it in the past couple of months. See, don't I look like a serious-minded academic young man who's going to lecture you about something? Wow, coffee's a hell of a drug. I don't usually drink coffee, so I like to reserve it for kind of emergency situations where I'm really, really sad, really, really unfocused, really something gray. This morning was definitely one of those days. It is literally gray out, which has an immediate effect on how I'm doing, how I'm feeling. I didn't sleep enough, which you've heard that refrain many times, but it was literally taking me 10 times longer sometimes to accomplish basic tasks. It took me something like 30 minutes to get dressed, and that's not usually my norm, and it's not like I'm wearing anything extraordinarily complicated. I did try to make an attempt to look good and interesting. I don't actually adore what I'm wearing, but I feel like I need to do things. So anyway, I sat in a cafe, drank 2 shots of espresso, read the long form, didn't even do that much reading because then I started writing. I started writing about what I was reading and just kind of letting my thoughts flit around. I'm still unfocused, but in a much more manic, constructive, productive way. So I'm going to try to ride that train. Before I do that, I need to feed myself stuff that isn't caffeine and milk. Otherwise, I'm going to crash. But then I'm going to practice. I'm probably going to do some more writing, and then I have to go work a couple of job things. This is my extremely red fit, by the way, and the shoes that I keep wearing all the time now. A quick little update before I head off to rehearsal. Have I been studying? Have I been writing? No to both. I did take care of tax stuff, but I have not written anything for my dissertation this week, and I also haven't studied at all. Both of these facts are okay objectively, but I feel bad. I feel unproductive and just really off. And I feel off often. You have heard me be off a lot recently anyway. It hasn't changed. But I have previously been off and also at least relatively disciplined in my writing. And this week I am both very sad and also unsuccessful in doing those tasks. It's really purely the result of my not putting any sort of effort or time into doing those tasks. I've even decided not to, and I'm not sitting well with that decision. I feel guilty for it. So I feel very out of sorts. Right now it's sunny and I'm off to a rehearsal, so I'm okay. But I'm really, really anxious and overwhelmed, and there's really no need to. So tonight when I come home, I'm gonna try to at least do some task, some useful, stupid task, and to just kind of cross off the list. And in fact, I have made a list because it is objectively helpful. Quick update, Flâneuse is good. It is not dissimilar to Art Monsters, which I have, in fact, in front of me. It is sort of a similar situation of going into specific people's lives and biographies and some considerations, some kind of essayistic considerations about them. So for instance, Virginia Woolf, George Sand, and how that connects also with Elkin's life itself. I don't think I can continue to listen to the audiobook because the French is too bad. The French pronunciation is not good enough and it's annoying me. It might not be a problem for you. Otherwise, it's a perfectly fine audiobook. The voice and the cadence are perfectly great and wonderful, but the accent is too off for me. It's becoming grating for me. So if that's not a problem for you, you might like this audiobook. I mentioned in the audiobook of Art Monsters, which I also partially listened to, that I really appreciated the fact that Lauren Elkin has really, really good French. Unfortunately, she's not the one narrating the audiobook of Flâneuse. So that's really taking me out of it, and I will probably finish it. I will probably just read it as a paper book instead, which is too bad because it is a really perfect book to walk around listening to, but I can't do it. So anyway, long form, I am continuing to read slowly and enjoying. I'm thinking a lot about it and writing some thoughts about it. I'm writing the past couple of days thoughts about the decision to make the protagonist a new mother and the connections between pregnancy and the kind of considerations of form and shape and space and time that the novel gets into, enclosure, and also the fact that she has the protagonist as a new mother is taking care of her child and is kind of confined in her home. So she has a lot of time to contemplate that space. What does that have to do with novel writing? And I've come to the kind of conclusion that there's a really interesting metaphor, useful metaphor in the act of mothering and the act of being kind of confined into this time and space for writing a novel. Because what is a novel but the use of shape, form, formal structure to try to connote time passing, especially if you're writing a novel that is biographical, which is a consideration of the book. Wow, I am explaining this in a very weird way. I don't know if I'm gonna keep that footage in. Anyway, I have to run now. Hello. Okay, morning agenda. What I absolutely have to do this morning is to take care of some recording things. So that's going to be my first order of business. I also want to write out some choreography notes for a piece that we made yesterday, and I want to send out my proposed table of contents for my dissertation to my thesis advisor. That won't take too long. So those are the 3 articles of interest. I would love to do some cleaning at some point today. We'll see if I have actual time for that. I'm gonna teach this afternoon, then I have a low-key audition, and then I'm gonna cook a meal.
Snark a little.
Weather is absolutely heinous today.
All my being is a dark verse.
It's like AC units on the Lower East Front.
I'm tired. I want to talk about some recent book mail I got in the past week and a half or so. Very exciting. I love getting book mail, especially unexpected book mail, especially for books that I'm intrigued to read. So always a happy surprise. The first book I got was Blessings by Chukwuebuka Ibeh. This is coming out in June 2024. This is an arc from Doubleday. This is a gay Nigerian coming of age story. I believe it is the author's first novel. And I was definitely accidentally sent this arc, but I'm also definitely intrigued by it. So thank you, universe. I also got Tell Me Everything by Elizabeth Strout. This is part of the Lucy Barton extended universe. I have never read any of the Lucy Barton books. I've watched Matthew Sharapa's excellent video on the Lucy Barton books, but I've never read any of them. So I'm definitely a candidate to read them. I don't know if I will start with this. I think you can sort of pick any of them up, not in order, and it is possible and fine to read. They kind of stand alone, but I'm not entirely sure. So I have to do a little bit of digging. This is out from Random House in also the summer in August 13th, 2024. And finally, I got The Observable Universe by Heather McCalden, out by Hogarth, and I believe it's out now. I've seen this excellent cover making the rounds recently. This is a sort of memoir / investigation that is in fact the little subtitle. McCalden's parents both died of AIDS in the early 90s, and she is diving into the history of HIV and with some connection to the internet as well. I think kind of knowledge gathering. I don't know a tremendous amount about this book either, but I am intrigued by it. So 3 delightful surprises. I'm gonna head back out again, I sang this morning, and now I'm gonna go to do a recording session. And then I will be finally done with my day, with my week. A weird week, as I've already mentioned. Got better progressively. Did manage to do some useful and important things, but not as many things as I probably would have liked. Well, definitely than I would have liked to do. Potentially not as many as I should have done, but it's also really not a problem. I'm not behind in any sort of meaningful way, just sort of on a personal judge your self-worth via your productivity in the world sort of way, which isn't great. So anyway. All right, my day is done. My week is done. May the new week be kind to me. I'm gonna do a little bit of music history studying, and then I'm ideally gonna go to bed and sleep.